Good afternoon. I'm going to be sharp, short, and precise in this discussion. I'm not going to spoon feed you to begin with. I'm not going to spoon feed you because there have been many videos and also we wrote profusely on these matters. But I'm just going to try to bring your attention to three issues of Islamic jurisprudence so that you can do your own researches. If you're lazy, intellectual lazy, I'm sorry. I'm not going to spoon feed you anymore because even I have written books on this matter and also I have made many videos on this matter in the last few years. You will hear on a lot of occasions that every child is born as a Muslim. Lovely. Every child is born as a Muslim. But is it true? Rather, I believe when a baby is born, that baby has no preconceived ideas. That baby has no preconceived ideas. So that baby is brainwashed as he grows. That baby is brainwashed as he grows. To be a Muslim, most of these Islamic scholars will tell you that you have to believe in Allah as the creator worthy of worship. So just believing in the possibility of a God is not enough. That God has to be Allah. Because Islamic definition of Allah or God is not the universal understanding of God. Islamic Allah has certain attributes, qualities, and characteristics. For example, Allah is muntaqim, that he takes revenge, he's revengeful, he's angry, he will punish you eternally, he will burn you in hellfire. And Allah, the creator, allows you to have war captives. He sent many prophets, including Muhammad. Quran is the last book. Muhammad is the last messenger. And the God did all this. The God who did all this is Allah. So the Islamic concept of Allah is not the universal understanding of God amongst all believers who believe in the existence of a creator. So Allah has certain traits, qualities, characteristics. He also comes down in certain part of the day and night to make queries about his slaves. He has hands, he has face, he sits on his throne. Unless you are trying to engage mental gymnastics to interpret his arsh and throne in other ways. Allah takes pleasure when his slaves take pleasure in killing their opponents, banishing from their lands. Allah takes pleasure. That's the characteristics of God. So every child, every baby who is born doesn't have these understandings of God. Even Tufail's book, Haya ibn Yaqzan, tried to address this particular issue. And in his book, Haya ibn Yaqzan, if you read, you'll see that a man in an island tries to um, examine his own existence as a unique species other than other animals on the island. And he believes that as a human being, he has particular responsibilities, and he ends up believing in the possibilities of God. But that doesn't mean that even if when a child grows up, like the story of Abraham in Quran and Bible, that when he was growing up, he was asking questions whether the moon is the god or the stars are gods, but eventually he discarded all of them one by one. That's a whole different scenario. Even if you, as an ordinary person, believe there is the possibility of a creator, that doesn't mean your understanding, your conclusion of thinking that there is a creator means that you believe in Allah. Allah has certain qualities which no child can ever come to the conclusion in the 21st century, especially impossible. Rear up a child in a nursing home or go to any children who is brought up in a non-Muslim majority society. Go to any country, go to Iceland, go to Ireland, go to Finland, go to Greenland, go to Amazon forest, go to Japan. Ask any child who was brought up in a non-Muslim majority society, and then ask, is there a God? Even if that child tells you, well, there is a possibility that I was created, and then ask, what is your understanding of a creator? That child will never tell you that God has, God sent a prophet named Muhammad. God sends messages through books, and Quran is the last book. God takes revenges, and God allows having prostitutes or concubines or slaves. The child will never tell you this, because these particular characteristics of a God is Allah, which Islam offers. So to say that every child is born a Muslim is totally irrational. Rather, the understanding of God, possibilities of God, various gods, and all this, these are all from the society that a person learns as he grows. But what does Islam say? Islam claims that every child is born a Muslim. If that's the case, now let's examine that then. But if you ask any Muslim scholar, at least 99.9% of them will say it's not enough to be a Muslim, that you just say there is a God and that's it. No. You have to believe in Allah. You have to address him as Allah. And you have to admit that Muhammad is the last prophet. That's the prevalent understanding of almost all Muslim scholars. So by that definition, no child is born a Muslim. Now, let me read you the very well-known Quranic verse, chapter 5, verse 32. Because of that, we decreed upon the children of Israel that whosoever kills a soul, unless, bracket, for a soul, or for corruption in the land, it is as if he had slain mankind entirely. And whosoever saves one, it is as if he had saved mankind entirely. And our messengers had certainly come to them with clear proofs. Then indeed many of them after that throughout the land were transgressors. Right. So if you examine this verse, then I have to conclude that Islam forbids killing of innocent souls. And the source behind this verse, it was interpolated from Talmud. I discussed it in one of my previous videos, but That's another day's topic. So even if, for argument's sake, take that every child is innocent, a Muslim, so you can't kill a child if he's innocent. Okay, a child is innocent, right? A child is innocent, so if he's a Muslim, you can't kill the child, right or wrong? Right. So what did the Prophet order? Did he order otherwise? We'll have to investigate that as well. We'll do that. We'll investigate that as well. So the Prophet, in fact, ordered killing of the children of Kafirs. The question is, why? He did order killing of the children, even if there was a possibility of children getting killed during war times. Why is that? Why did he say they are the children from the Kafir? I will take you to Hadith number, book number 19, Hadith number 4321. Sahih Bukhari, Hadith number 4321. It reads, it is reported on the authority of Zattama that the Prophet of Allah, when asked about the women and children of the polytheists being killed during the night, said, they are from them. That means you can carry out the attack even if the children dies. Again, I'm telling you, book 19, Hadith number 4321, Sahih Muslim. It is reported on the authority of Sa'b bin Zatama that the Prophet of Allah, when asked about the women and children of the polytheists being killed during the night raid, said, they are from them. That means they are kafir as well. So even if they die, don't worry too much about it. But the Prophet of Islam did encourage not to kill the children and women because they would come in handy. Then if they are not killed, you can say they're Muslims and you can proselytize them easily. And if they're women, you can use them as war captives. And if they're war captives, eventually it becomes easier for them for manumission and freedom if they become Muslims and all that. We know all this. So it is easier to proselytize war captive women and children. So it is preferred that you don't kill them. There is not a single unequivocal, explicit verse in the Quran to say all children are Muslims, regardless, even if they are born of the Kafirs. The children of the Kafir are Muslims. There's no verse in the Quran. But the Quran does say that no children, no one should carry the sin of the previous. But the question is, that is still not clear. That is still not clear because the Islamic scholars, all you need to do is Google search. Make your life easy. Just Google search the question, are the children of Kafir, if they die as children, will go to heaven? Google this question. You will see 20 different answers. You will say, most likely. That is probably the obvious conclusion. But you can't say conclusively that just being children, they are guaranteed heaven in Islam. No. But what Islam does with the rituals and hadith and all that, brands the child and makes sure that the child is brainwashed. Because when the child reaches the age of 9, spanking is allowed if the child doesn't pray 5 times a day. The child should also start practicing fasting. That's sort of child abuse. When I see my friends my Muslim friends being proud that their children are fasting. I said, for what? That's child abuse. And you are fasting. They will say this is to feel the. I mean, they have made up all this nonsense that this is scientifically this good. Mental gymnastics. This is the way to feel the hunger of the poor. These are all made up stories, arguments, mental gymnastics. Later on, the Sahabas or companions of that Islamic prophet never even thought of these arguments. So I will ask them, rather, a child in a burning hot day, not even allowed to drink water, you are finding it to be good for your health and you are comparing it to intermittent fasting? Are you crazy? Or a rickshaw puller in Bangladesh fasting. Why? He's poor already. He goes hungry every day anyway. And in the scorching heat, he's told you can't even drink. Isn't that torture? And you are telling me that a child is getting used to fasting for what? This is a sort of child abuse. So a child is being brainwashed. Again, if I see girls, minor girls, wearing burqa or hijab and I ask them, why are you making that child, that girl, little girl, wear burqa? And I thought that burqa or hijab were choices, right? You Muslim women say this is a choice. So is that a choice of that girl? This is it is brainwashing. A bird in a cage will consider the flying birds to be crazy. So you are brainwashing your child and making the child get used to wearing burqa and hijab. And you are telling me this is not indoctrination. The child has complete freedom because the child is emulating the mom, right? You're brainwashing the child. And you are also sending a message that even a child can be a sexual object or target. Disgusting. We should rather encourage the mentality that children are children. A child is a child. But what can you do when Bukhari hadith said that Muhammad had sex with Aisha when she was 9? Although I think there are arguments against this hadith, but still, with all due respect, that most revered hadiths, according to Zaki Naik, everything in Bukhari is sahih. So according to Bukhari, a 53-year-old man had sex with 9-year-old girl. So that probably justifies you making your 9-year-old daughter or 10-year-old daughter wear or get used to wearing hijab or burqa, right? What is that? That's child abuse. You are confining a child. Secondly, what about circumcision? Strangely enough, some doctors in the West will tell you, oh, there are some benefits. Benefits of what? Cleanliness? So all men around the world who are non-Muslims, 75% of men who are non-Muslims, and even, out of 25% so-called Muslims of the world population, how much even know Quran? That's another question. Not even 1% probably even read hadiths. Forget about hadiths. They didn't even read Quran in their own mother tongue. They're praying 5 times a day, saying Subhana Rabbil Allah. They don't know the meaning of. Anyway, so you're telling me that a child who is circumcised has medical benefits. What about hundreds and thousands of accidents happening on operating tables on male children who are circumcised? And even if you're in the UK and if you want your child circumcised, they will make you sign a form. There is no confirmed, universally agreed benefit of circumcision. And if there is any benefit, this is for the gay community. Are you gay? I don't know. Does Islam support homosexuality? Do you support homosexuality? So the best you can settle this matter is saying that there is no universally agreed benefit. But even if you don't agree, I will rather say that there is maybe a slight loss of sexual sensitivity on the tip of your penis because it hardens. But nevertheless, even if you don't agree with that, this should be, for the slightest thing, it should be the choice of a human being to make when he grows up. Not before that, when he grows up, when he's an adult, he can make a decision. If not being circumcised was so detrimental, we would have seen diseases all over the world. Do we see that? Do we see even there's a government campaign in developing countries where they're so concerned about for health issues, requiring or encouraging you to circumcise your children? Do you see that? No, you don't. You don't see that. Because there's no proven conclusive benefit of being circumcised. So, but you are mutilating your male child irreversibly. And when it comes to women, it's even worse, because Islam does support in hadiths women should be circumcised as well, but not deeply, as the Prophet said. Not so deeply, because men love it. Not women, men love it. Go and find the hadiths, my friends. And over 90% of Somali girls are circumcised. And when a woman is circumcised, she loses her sexual pleasure. She does. And who cares for women's sexual pleasure in Islam anyway? Because they're authorized to be raped with their war captives, because Prophet Muhammad did it, didn't he? Tell me he didn't. Jawhara, Safiya. What were those? Did Muhammad wait for Safiya's idda period before he had sex with Safiya? What does Bukhari say? You read your own Bukhari. Go on, go on. But circumcision is called fitra. But the khitan is called khitan. You know, one of the Abu Huraira, who never even existed because he has so many different names. Who nobody knows his original name in Islamic history. You get 15 different names. And some will say that Abu Huraira, he hardly stayed with Muhammad. You know, he stayed with Muhammad less than 3 years. Was illiterate man, poor man. He became the most prolific hadith narrator. Abu Huraira included this khitan. And there are many things which were interpolated by Abu Huraira from hadiths. And there's no existence of this so-called Bukhari until the 12th century. There's no evidence of it, of its existence, no inscription, no manuscript. Before the 11th century, there's no manuscript. The earliest you can find is in European countries, including Bulgaria and British Library. And there's another hadith where Aisha was confused whether what was the 10th, fitra or daily chores that you have to do, like cutting your nails, cutting your hair. And they'll come up with all kinds of bullshit arguments. Sorry for my French. But Aisha, who violated the Quranic instructions, who tormented the Prophet left and right. And this is against the Quran anyway, to mutilate your body. When I did this tattoo, they said, "Oh my God, you did tattoo." I said, "What? This is reversible anyway. But what's wrong with you? Why do you cut the top of your penis anyway? Your skin, penis, that's irreversible. Why do you mutilate it then?" They will go for hadith, they will go for this. But this is against the Quran. The Quran says don't mutilate. But anyway, it's in practice. So you do it, and Muslims get butthurt, many of them, to admit that they were circumcised and no choice in it. There's no choice in it. That's what it is. They had no choice. So they get butthurt. Now then, naming the children. Thankfully, not all the Muslim countries name their children Arabic names, but when you name your child, give your child a Bengali, like me, a Bengali child given an Arabic name. Why? Because of this tribal attitude. This is a tribal attitude. I belong to the Arabic Islamic tribe. A permanent identity stamped in my body. I can never, shrug out of it. Never. I can never shrug out of it. I can never lose it. I'm Mufassir Islam. I became well known in this name. I can't shrug it off. It's permanent in my identity. Even if I change my name now, and whatever I want to name myself, still people will be calling me Mufassir because I'm already well known with this name. And who did it? My father. Who named my father? My grandfather. Who named my grandfather? My great-grandfather. So these sort of Arabic names are given to us, being Bengalis still. Why? Because we belong to the Arabic Islamic tribe, and we are getting used to, a child is getting used to eating with the right hand. A child is getting used to, even if he's lefty brain-wise, but still he is forced. Sometimes children are hand-tied behind their back, and they'll be forced to use their right hand. When neurologically they are left-handed, because to eat with the right hand is sunnah. You'll get used to loving dates. You cannot say date is disgusting. They will insult if you do that, because the Prophet loved it. The Arabic Prophet loved dates. So you have to love date. You have to say, somehow scientifically, you have to find a way to prove that date has more blessings than mango, even if you are from Bangladesh. These are all part of brainwashing. Then you are forced to memorize the Quran in Arabic, the language you don't know. You are forced to memorize the Quran in Arabic. Why don't you try this? Force your children to memorize a Chinese book of poetry in Chinese language without even requiring him to understand it. Because 99% of Bangladeshi so-called Hafiz children at the age of 9, they learn how to memorize things in a language they don't understand the meaning of. And they're forced to memorize an entire book. This is child abuse. And this abuse continues until the man goes to his grave. And we don't question it. This brainwashing is embedded in our heads. We pray 5 times a day. We don't know what we are uttering. We don't care what we are uttering. We don't know where the instructions came from when we pray. We don't know why we are going to Mecca and circumvallating the Kaaba, why you're kissing the black stone. We don't question, because since our birth, we were taught not to question, because if we question, my father might take me as a kafir, and he might even wake up in the morning and say, now, son, with the instruction of Allah, I have to kill you, because the Prophet Abraham wanted to slaughter his son because he had a dream, and the son agreed to be slaughtered. I get scared. Every Eid day comes, and I see cows and you know what, slaughtered, and I can see blood flowing. That reminds me of the Prophet who wanted to slaughter his own son. I get scared because my own father can slaughter me if I question. Anyway, there's no point taking any questions now, because I'm going to end this conversation. I think I gave enough time. A couple of you have joined me, but there's no reason, unless you have a quick question. Buddhamunshi, do you have a quick question or something that you want to say? If you have a quick question.
I will talk regarding this issue later, a few minutes later.
Right. Anyway, I'm going to end this in 7 minutes anyway. So, Sam, do you have any question or anything to say before I end this? I don't even see you. So, if you have any question or anything, you have 7 minutes. You can ask me now. Otherwise, I'm going to end this conversation. You have any question? No question. So, okay. Anyway, Buddhamunshi, I need to log out. Thank you very much.